And for those of us who've been doing this work, we're like, man, how much more of these densities, how much more of this pain or grief, anger is within me that I have to keep working through. Just when I think that I get these, these higher energies and I work through a layer, then they show up again. But we have to understand we have lifetimes of buried emotions, these filters that have been created through all the times we've been diminished for having those feelings. And all those times that we've been diminished, we've just then learned to just ignore them, so we bury them. And these energies don't just leave when we bury them. When we ignore feeling shame, when we ignore or we're afraid to feel grief, when we're afraid to express our fears, when we're afraid or we're just living in overwhelm and we wear overwhelm now as a badge of honor, like, oh, it's just so overwhelmed, there's just so much going on, and that's become some kind of badge of honor at this point. It's been accepted now. So it's either you don't feel it, or if you do feel it, it means you're doing something right because you got so much going on that now it's become acceptable to operate in a state of anxiety and fear and overwhelm. And then those who say, I'm done with all of that, I'm going to go and create a life in joy and in love, that becomes the crazy thing. That's insane, right? And that's a judgment, yes, and yet it's simply insane because from a higher level perspective, it just shows how much we have been ingrained and conditioned to live in these lower life constricting emotions, densities. These are dense. So when we have been taught to operate here as the norm, it has been manipulated into us so that we don't operate up here where our sovereign power, where our intellectual, our whole intelligence is.